This video is a pile of everything we know about the Backrooms movie so far, and specifically my past couple of vids, starting with what we knew before the trailer and what was to come after and the teasers following it. Before I begin, I have a theory. A Backrooms theory! I'm sorry, just let me get into it, okay? From Kane Pixel's Backrooms web series, we learned that Async was founded to create more space for the government, and in Backrooms' presentation, it shows us ways of using the Backrooms to create housing. So this could be Clark in one of those establishments, and maybe even being talked to by Async, and the man on the left possibly being a worker there. Overall, I think that Clark is actually being interrogated by an Async member. And before you say this 90-degree shoulder pad belongs to a mannequin, we've already seen stills of what the mannequins could look like, and they're gray. They don't have a skin color like the one in this photo. As for still life, there's a possibility, but it looks way too human. And although there isn't any confirmed skin tones across them, in found footage 3, the still life was a much paler color. And I don't assume that Kane would introduce a still life in such a bright and happier area. It doesn't look like a proper way to introduce one. And what's not more normal than using a dagger to eat your steak? In all seriousness, this could be a weapon that Clark has in case of emergency whilst in the complex, or maybe one he finds along the way. The clothes he's wearing is also the same when he reeled Bob down the ramp, so he could get lost after that scene. It couldn't be that his friends are at the other end of the table and they're just joking around, because his flannel is buttoned and seems with him, unlike this picture. And it could be that they're dead by now. In conclusion, Clark may be talking to an Async worker as a checkup on it, which could also lead to this scene. What are your thoughts on this? Now let's get started with our other theories. We are eating good this year, because ever since the announcement of a Backrooms movie, we've gotten adaptations like Iron Lung, Exit 8, and The Mortuary Assistant. With the Backrooms next, I could tell this movie might do better than all three of them. Being around for as long as I can remember, we're going to be fed by nostalgia in the upcoming months. Now all we have to do is hold on till May, and soon enough, on May 29th, we'll all be in our theater seats and watching the Backrooms up on the big screen. Before we begin, let's play a game! Whatever percentage your phone battery is at right now is your Backrooms level, and tell me in the comments what level you got if you like. It's notable to mention that there are 4 parts to this video, which is an expectation of Kane Pixel's universe in the Backrooms, the cast, the synopsis or story analysis, as well as some leaks I uncovered online. Here are the timestamps where you can go skip to those parts if you'd like. Directed by Kane Pixels at the premature age of 19. This movie, and by the grace of the God, is being produced by A24. So it's safe to say, this movie is in good hands. Releasing on May 29th this year, we can expect to see another trailer by assumption later this month. But for those who don't know, how can we make sense of Kane's version of the Backrooms? You see, he uses his own logic, aside from what's already in the wiki, meaning there won't be certain creatures like Smilers or Skinwalkers, but that could still be changed. His version has to do with the government opening a portal into the Backrooms, but they didn't create it. I've seen people worry about there being creatures, but Kane only has 2 confirmed so far. And the original Backrooms has creatures anyway, which shows they're ignorant for caring so much about something they clearly don't know about. I'd rather not the whole movie be its own Blair Witch project and hide the supernatural aspects from the viewers, while having to suffer watching it all from a poorly done VHS. He's done it enough on his own channel, and many others have themselves, so it's not like I expect that anyway. I'd also like to point out that Kane's version doesn't have levels, and instead they're like Minecraft biomes. And those aren't my words, I meant. It's notable to mention that Kane will likely be composing the music for the film. He also has a second channel called Not Kane Pixels, which has a lot of recent uploads. It might have a chance of being in the movie. One thing I look forward to the most in any movie is the cast, and what makes me especially glad is that it isn't mainstream, because a movie like this doesn't need a big star. I both respect and love that Kane did this because it's beneficial for the actors and the immersiveness they're going for in this movie, which I expect him to be aiming toward. The story that's already been given for this movie is that a therapist enters the Backrooms intentionally after her patient disappears. It also sounds like we could hear the two talking in the teaser.
I found something.
Did you find?
Found a place.
It's theorized that these two could be, and correct me if I'm wrong, Shibutel Ijifor, the patient, and Renete Reinsev, the therapist. Both are main characters. It's also speculated that a Patrick Bateman is in this cast. And before you say anything, not the type of psycho you're thinking. I actually haven't seen this guy around anywhere. Also, Robert Bobrachki, who is 7 feet tall, 7'7" precisely, will have a role. But that's just theorized. And if he's going to play anything, we can all assume that it's the entity, aka the life form. Am I right? Time will tell. But this isn't the only role he's taken, because he was recently in the 2020 A24 movie Alien, also playing a villain. The first synopsis of this movie, which is on the A24 website, states, "A strange doorway appears in the basement of a furniture showroom." Allow me to read a comment I stumbled upon that explains this really well. That doorway appearing is actually to show how the Backrooms is generating. The man in the trailer was also explaining it. The Backrooms keeps expanding like our universe, creating new rooms. But these rooms are actually places from the real world. The Backrooms tries to replicate real places. But as the time goes on, as Backrooms generating rooms over and over again, the Backrooms start to remember things wrongly. The rooms start to get weirder in the trailer because the Backrooms doesn't remember it correctly. Like, this table is here, the wall is here, I think? So it just keeps getting more different until it starts creating randomly segmented walls, as like how people originally know the Backrooms. The doorway was also a result of the Backrooms forgetting the original design of the rooms. I really like it that they went with this kind of idea. It's really sick. It's like a human brain. Another one I found gives a great example as well. The trailer scrolling down over and over regenerated the first room differently each time. It's to show the Backrooms generates. In the trailer, the more it remembers, the less it does. It's like tracing a drawing 1,000 times. By the end, it'll look really different unless you're really skilled at drawing perfect lines. Another example is where when the Backrooms regenerates the rooms, it doesn't remember everything. It's like the Backrooms forgets where the chair is or how big it is, so it places the chair randomly. Then the next room generated is remembered by the wrongly generated room, until you just end up in these endless yellow halls created by the Backrooms forgetting memories. I'm sure you won't forget it now, so I'll stop right there. To my surprise, there weren't many leaks when I was searching for them, but I came across 3, so I'm giving you a warning right here and right now. If you don't want to be spoiled, beware. I'll give you 3 seconds. The first leak I discovered was taken outside of an office building, with a man in a work uniform standing in a parking lot, surrounded by cars that were made in the 80s to the 90s. This further supports how the timeline and Kane's are connected, because they both come around from that period. This next leak is of a neighborhood with blue screens and floating lights, which we could argue are to light up the scene enough to get faraway shots, which doesn't seem too unexpected for a movie that's trying to give you an empty feeling, but I don't believe that that's the case. Let's first go and find out what this place is exactly. During the Backrooms Pitfall video, my personal favorite by Kane, we see a red neighborhood which takes place during the night. And I don't know about you, but I can see a lot of similarities between the two. By the way, they're never stated as levels, as I was saying they're more so biomes. And insider info also mentioned that they could hear screaming and loud noises, and people were told around the set that this will happen, meaning danger. It also implies a chase scene is likely. As for what I think those balls of lights are, I think they're worms. As weird as it sounds, I have to come up with at least one bogus theory for every video I make, so spare me here. I almost wish that I'm wrong in that one. The last leak I found is of a place you may recognize. Remember the pool rooms? You see, we see a place of it, but not quite like it. I don't know how people are going to react once this is revealed, but I'd expect some to be mad. And I'm not yet going to jump to conclusions because this one could be false, as it's the only one I'm not sure of. Because in the background I hear younger teenagers sounding shriek and music playing, which makes me think this could be an actual pool. There's also one person you see the feet of at the top of the screen walking by. If there isn't a pool room like biome in this movie, I admit I'll be upset because that's my favorite part of the Backrooms and what's got me truly obsessed with it. It's a cool concept. And the song playing, Headlock, which is hilarious to think about because I just know there are going to be a million edits with that song in the Backrooms. I'm going to end off this section by giving a little background and saying that everything we saw in the teaser is created in Blender. I'm hoping that we'll get the same quality and look, which is perfect to me already on camera. With the Backrooms movie now 2 months away from us, there's still a lot more content coming our way before its release. I'll be giving my feedback on every other teaser or trailer we get, and be sure to update you all. Make sure to subscribe so you can remember me, and so that we can meet again someday. I hope to see you curious people again. Bye bye. A couple of days ago, we got our first full look at the Backrooms movie. With a new trailer, there's so much more to look at, and I'm here to tell you it all. Plus a little extra information than the average YouTuber. This trailer bumped my anticipation for the movie, which is already high, to an even higher standard. It's good, so be sure to stick around. Before we begin, tell me down below what your favorite Backrooms level is, and any theories you have for the movie. I'll make sure to reply to every comment. You start off with an iconic liminal song playing in the background by Instupendo. I freaked out when I first recognized it because I used to listen to it, unironically, I was an edgy kid, and it's probably the first liminal song I got into. The screen pans into a furniture store by the name of Captain Clark's, Clark being the owner of the store, who is our main character, portrayed by Chiwetel Ejiofor, who was in 12 years as a slave in Doctor Strange. And the last time I tried pronouncing this dude's name from my previous video, I couldn't even bother to search up how to say it. I'm sorry. It's notable to mention that this furniture store may be referencing the origins of the Backrooms, and how its original location was also at a furniture store, which is in Wisconsin, hours away from where I live. I stayed away. Tell me in the comments if I should go down there and record my experience, and maybe even interview the owner of the building. You can tell Kane did his own homework to make the Backrooms come to life, because you'll be seeing many niche references spread throughout the trailer. And at one point, he was a huge Attack on Titan fan, so I wouldn't doubt he took the extra step. We also see this sick shot of A24's branding. It's a tradition for A24 to display their name in Subway Fantasy for every film they create. You'll see the cinematography is also quite reminiscent of The Shining for some parts of the film. They both have a lot of space. As Clark investigates a tall slit in the wall of his furniture store, you could just barely see it close up before he falls into it, and ultimately no clips into the Backrooms. I'm guessing that he falls into it because we sort of see him look up once he's inside, which would be unnatural if that weren't the case. The color grading really pops out in this movie, even making bright places look scary, and even when in dark areas, they managed to pull off that same thing. When I watched Friendships, I was blown away by the eeriness and filmmaking delivered by A24. At that point, I could tell a Backrooms movie made by them was definitely possible. The main character ends up getting trapped inside, losing his exit after returning to it. As Clark explores the Backrooms, he finds a pile of furniture on the ground and a massive unorganized clump that's bigger than himself, which is quite profitable for his business, if you ask me. And while he's exploring, you could hear a voice play on a loudspeaker, which is spoken in Urdu. It says,
Hello?
This is actually a pre-recorded message from the 55 greetings from the Voyager 2 Golden Record, which is a message sent out to space in hopes, or I guess not hopes, but if aliens were to respond back. This message was sent out billions of miles from Earth and is a real-life thing that was created in 1977, years prior to the time this movie took place, which I'll get into later, meaning it ultimately ended up in the Backrooms. It's so interesting to think about, because what could this mean about the Backrooms, and how did the sound travel to the Backrooms? Back to Clark. As he turns around the corner, there's what seems to be a person in the hallway. He calls out, but gets no answer in return. You see, if we look closely, you can notice that this isn't a person, and none other than a cardboard cutout. You can also tell by the legs and how it's standing itself up. The cardboard cutout is also seen in K-Pixel's found footage number 3, around 33 minutes and 30 seconds. Kinda ironic. It's of a caveman holding a large stick that you could just barely see him holding up in the trailer. This is not the only time Kane reuses models, because the chair from the original teaser is a part of found footage number 2, another clever detail. And later he enters a room with a single camera and a door with wires poking out of it, which I'll also get into later. We then see this camera is in fact on and recording him. We get our first evidence of the movie's timeline because we see on the screen of Clark standing, looking at the camera recording him, and it tells us on the screen that this takes place in the year 1990. I think that these materials could be part of Async Corporation from K-Pixel's web series, which leads to them coming after him, and could also explain their later appearance. And although this scene happens toward the end of the trailer, I can prove that it happens after this series of events. Because if we match up the different outfits Clark wears between scenes, the scene where he steps into the room, he's in his suit, and this most matches the first time he enters the Backrooms in the trailer. The scene is also right after the main character discovers the cardboard cutout, as you can see it in the doorframe behind him, which explains what was in the room in the left of the hallway, possibly being where the sound was coming from.
Look, I know how this sounds, but you gotta understand, it's massive in there.
And do you know what else is massive?
The Backrooms also references Ninja immediately peak. Afterward, we're introduced to Renate Reinsve, who is his therapist. He goes to her, saying he
Found a place.
He even made his own map that he showed her, and he says that he will come back with proof. This happens the same day, telling by his clothes. And there's some places you might recognize, such as the plus beam looking corridors. That's obviously not his real name, but also the area we see from the Pitfalls video Kane posted may also make an appearance, since you can see only boxes filled out are lined up next to each other, as well as an arrow pointing to the furthest wall, which could represent the door on the other side, just like we see in the Pitfalls video. Some text you could barely make out is Old Battles, which I believe could mean there are picture frames on the walls of Old Battles, of course. There's also an area which is heavily sketched around the perimeter stating store, which is the furniture store, where he came from. One thing I found interesting was a throne room. That could be one of the huge chairs like the oversized sofa from the teaser, which is also popular across Backrooms videos. Oversizing the legs or just anything about chairs is a popular trend. As for steel lamp, I'm not sure about it at first glance, and the rest of the text you can't make out. But we can make out the rest of this map using our critical thinking, like the arrow pointing through the wall, which is obviously the no clip spot, and the bundle of furniture that's scribbled up and stacked on top of each other. The last thing I noticed was a ladder at the top left of the map that connects with a hole in the ground, or maybe to a wall. Overall, there's still a lot to uncover. I'm sure a lot of people will solve everything online shortly after I post this video. You guys can tell me what you think in the comments. I think this dude might be Nami. Moving on, Clark likely gets his employees to assist him in discovering more about the Backrooms. I'm recording to create more proof and helping him navigate by pulling each other in and out down steep areas. What's interesting is that these parts of the movie are in raw VHS footage. We see the actor Finn Bennett pose in the mirror with the camera in his hands, and Lucetta Maxwell, the girl, is also a part of his crew. They tie ropes to each other so they don't get lost, like the string system in the first found footage. But soon enough, one of them gets in a rush to get back, likely being Finn, because Clark helped him pull him down. He helps to be brought back up. You could hear Clark say, "What did you see?" which actually proves how obsessed he's gotten with this place, to the point of caring about it more than his own people. It seems that a lot of people who make discoveries become consumed in it, and it's sad. You can spot the place where they adapt the poise system on the middle of the map, meaning that some parts of the map could be higher levitations than the others. And keep in mind, this area isn't an entrance, meaning that while they were waiting to pull Finn back in, they were still exposed to the backrooms where the monster was chasing them, who could likely get up to them by comparing its height to the Sound Head monster from the Pitfalls video. And during this VHS sequence, there's a brief cut you wouldn't notice at first glance, which shows a TV screen with the book, The Window Within, written by his therapist, who we now know her name, Dr. Mary Klein. It states on the right of the TV screen, "Overcome barriers and take through the action," and "break through the pain," which is a horrible pun. Kane, if you made that up, props to you. Back to the filmmaking of this movie, it's amazing how they depict the variety of the backrooms, with items clipping into walls and each other. There's even a sideways hallway during the VHS portion of the trailer, and a Christmas display of mannequins, statues, or maybe even people stuck in the ground, possibly from being no clipped wrongly. These are all things I've never seen before in the Backrooms, and it's fascinating to imagine. Another clever detail, specifically for the hardcore fans, is at 1:45 in the trailer, a shot from the same room as the picture in the original 4chan post gets run past, something we've all been wondering if it would make an appearance in the film. And we've seen it in the trailer, and the stop sign from Clark's room is in the Backrooms. I wonder if he'll notice it. A lot of these seem to be coming from the places he recognizes, which makes sense because this area is closest to his furniture store, which copies it and adds to the Backrooms. In the next sequence, his therapist begins to believe him and looks for herself, but I think that she could be looking for him. She then goes to the entrance in the basement of the furniture store and manages to no-clip inside from the front rooms to the Backrooms. A beautiful scene. Even they had to say it themselves. I always find it satisfying when a character or a person in general is seen as crazy, but later proves to the other person that they were right all along. The only downside is that we all know nothing satisfying is about to happen for his therapist in the next couple of scenes. You can also notice a tape from Found Footage 2 of Kane Pixel's Backrooms web series. It might not be the exact tape, but there's a possibility. Maybe Clark found more than one place that things can no clip through, enough to fit an object like that. This is known as a no zone, where reality connects with the Backrooms, an area where you don't have to accidentally fall into the Backrooms, but instead travel through it at any point. One other thing I caught immediately was that the tape is somewhat reminiscent of The Caretaker. I'm hoping, and basically we all are hoping, that his music will be in this movie. Just fits too well. In the next scene, you see a therapist running away from something in a cramped space. The thing is, we don't yet know what she faces. We see her with dirt, or maybe even blood all over her. She looks nasty. We could wonder about what's chasing her all day, but what's at the end of this tight space? Because I see clouds in the sky, something bright, maybe even an area like level 94. And not exact, because we all know that Kane doesn't implement too many of his ideas from the Backrooms wiki. In fact, he doesn't even have levels. I think this is the closest we'll get. The day before the release of this trailer, we got two posters, both situations we've already seen, but closer up. One of Clark looking up at the Backrooms in awe, and one that sticks out a bit more, of his therapist in the same situation as we saw her in the ending of the first trailer. And at first, I'll admit, I thought she was on the ground, but you can clearly see her head is pressed against the wallpaper. Like I was saying earlier, there are wires throughout the trailer, one most notably leading into a door from the camera room, which is most likely connected to async. We later see another one of these wires while the therapist is trying to get out of a tight space from the trailer, although it looks a bit thicker this time. What could be the reason? Speaking of async, we get a special appearance from them in their iconic hazmat suits, but one that stood out in particular. One of them was in a green hazmat suit. It seems to be sabotaging the one in yellow. It also looks like he came straight out of those YouTube shorts. I have to be completely honest, I don't like it. I'm fine with hazmats, but green just doesn't fit. They also look very fake. mainly because of the lighting, which I blame. I think if they're gonna go with the hazmat suits, at least do it in the VHS format, or else it looks cheesy, and again from those YouTube shorts. But you could argue that the found footage from these portions of the movie wouldn't make too much sense, and overdoing it would be cheap. People wouldn't be too happy. These supervisors in green have appeared in the videos Motion Detected, Pitfalls Reunion, Damage Control, and Lightning and Tile Survey by Kane Pixels. So this isn't the first time we've seen this guy, and its color has a significance. The green hazmat suits are specialized gear that the supervisors in async wear that are a part of the oxygen tank equipment, which is used venturing out to volatile and new environments across the backrooms. My question is, what are they doing with the gas tank? Did they get lost and suddenly one of them has gone crazy? Maybe due to the insanity of being trapped forever? There's also a different wallpaper in the background, which seems to be an island. This wallpaper is actually from the furniture store, which you can see at 1 minute and 37 seconds, then copied to the background seconds later at 1:43, just stretched to fit the wall. This ties in with the theme of rooms recreating itself, making new rooms, but forgetting more about the last every time. Moving on, the trailer ends with someone who is seemingly lost, which is what most people think. But if you look close enough, you can see that this has to take place during the found footage portion of the movie, because it's recorded on the camera, meaning it has to be recorded for one of Clark's crew while exploring, and that could very much be the main character himself, as he is wearing the same clothing. They both wear a dark red flannel, blue skinny jeans, and white shoes. Why is he staring at the wall? I genuinely do not know. He's also surrounded by a seemingly empty pool and beach chairs. It might relate to the leak I talked about in my last video relating to pool rooms. I first missed this scene when watching the trailer because I was surrounded by my friends at the lunch table. What a wild time. There have been some picture leaks that have been confirmed to not be real since this trailer has come out, proven by me, and it should be obvious enough to everybody. Because when matching the characters' clothing, I can't see any of the characters wearing this who enters the backrooms, and the set is way too large. I get that it's a 90% practical movie, but that'd still be way out of budget. And we have yet to see Mark Duplass make a cameo. Although we do already know that he's been seen from a leak on the set as an office worker, which is very likely to be a part of Async where he works. He's been a very anticipated character, so I'm very excited to see how he'll play out. I'm sure you've heard of all the music theories for this movie, and specifically my own from the last video, which I know you definitely watched. For sure, am I right? No! Okay! You don't have to answer, Kenny. As I was saying, theories have gone around saying that Kane Pixels will be a part of the soundtrack to his movie. So essentially he's done basically all of the works on his film. It's impressive. And guess what? We were correct. He ended up implementing the song Compromises in the trailer, around the middle portion. I'm glad for this because he is a heck of a producer. But the question is, will this movie be jump scared filled or not? In complete transparency, I wish for both of these. The feeling of dread and being stuck in an endless establishment and nothingness, as well as creature features. I know that James Wanmaid is a part of this movie who's collaborated with many jump scared film movies, which can mean jump scares are likely. Maybe one or two that I'm personally comfortable with in a movie like this. And the movie is also written by Will Sudick, who wrote Westworld, Homeland, Ash vs. Evil Dead, and now The Backrooms. All very successful films. Also, shout out to A24 for entrusting Kane Parsons to do this. Their now youngest filmmaker. None of this would have happened without him. This movie is also rated R, which could either mean there is lots of swearing, blood, gore, or the backrooms turn suddenly freaky. And we all know it's in the blood gore category. My way of telling this is at 1:14 when we see the slanted room from the VHS section. When the ceiling is the wall, there's what seems to be a pile of bodies of people who may have fallen down and splat to their death. My only complaints are that the backrooms could be bigger in comparison to our main character. And I get that he could be a big guy, but in reality, he's only 5'10". It's crazy to think that all of this could have been avoided if he just used all that furniture to his advantage and expand his business, maybe. I'd like to see your thoughts in the comments, so go ahead and leave what you think down there if you'd like. I love ruining my experience for every movie by spoiling myself as much as I can before it releases, so tell me what you want to see next, and who knows, maybe the story is simpler than we imagine it to be. Maybe it all could be just a burning memory. There's now less than a month until the Backrooms movie releases, meaning there's less than a month for me to solve it, so bear with me as I reveal the truth before your own eyes and ears. I might even get a thing right or two. I actually have no doubt that I'm wrong about anything here, and I will warn you for potential spoilers, because what I'm going to be talking about will go in depth, and I'll even share some insider info from a test screener that spoke out to me that could tell the fate of not one, but both of these main characters, and the importance of the hazmat suits, as well as some information on how the movie could start. If that's what you're looking for, I don't blame you at all. Go at it. Essentially, there's been a load of content being shot at me. Jeez, that did not sound right. but numerous amount of new photos and even another teaser have been released in the past couple weeks since the trailer came out. And I'll be looking through every square inch of those photos just to tell you if that's jam or not. Let's get into it. Just before I begin editing this video, a new teaser is posted and skyrocketed across the internet for the Backrooms movie, just in time for me to talk about it. In the trailer we see multiple new shots, some even from the exclusive photos that were released, which this whole video is going to be about beforehand. And before I get into it, here it is.
I found a place.
A place.
It's massive in there.
What is this?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Can I just take it slow?
Oh, God.
Pull me up, pull me up, pull me up!
Are you ready to step through?
There's something that stands out to me the most in this news teaser, the entity and the life form. To start off, we're shown an area that we've seen before from one of the exclusive photos, coming from the POV of a hole inside the wall, which we saw as well in another exclusive photo. But behind Clark in this frame, you could see a throne. Recognize it? On the map Clark drew in the trailer, I pointed out in my last video that there's a throne room, but I could never make out what it was. And you could even see the hole leading to another room. This room is also fully enclosed on the map, meaning he had to go look at it. So, in result, this is the throne room he's standing in. And finally, the most important part of this teaser is at the end. And it's hard if you don't look closely, but after the guy in Clark's team is reeled down into a deep area in the back room, he finds a dirty and tighter room compared to the others in the complex. But in the shadows hides the entity, and specifically the life form. I didn't actually expect them to use this guy, even though there's hints of him in the trailer, and I kinda hope they hadn't, but I'm still very excited. And it seems like the guy in Clark's team is brought all the way up, because you can see him being pulled back up to the top, and it's pretty far down, so I wouldn't doubt he made it. A day later, it happened again. Now even more teasers have been released. Yet another 30-second clip. In this teaser, we're shown one new scene, giving another look from the chase scene at the original Backrooms location, recreated. And Kane goes one step further because he shows the original version that I even showed in the last video. Now let's dive into these images and what they can mean. The first two images I'd like to basically skip over are the two that we've seen from the trailer already, which is of him walking to the caveman cardboard cutout in the moment he tried going back to the front rooms through the no zone that he fell through. We were also given a behind the scenes look of the actor playing Clark, because I am not pronouncing his name for the third time. 3 videos in a row. I've gotten it wrong enough. And of course, Kane Parsons, who is Kane Pixels himself, the director if you didn't know. And what I noticed about this is on the left of the image, there's a hole in the side of the wall that is not at the bottom, not at the top, but in the middle. And next to it, a ladder. I don't know if this is for the camera crew at all, but right now I'm considering it part of the set. This confirms my theory of the ladder entrance, which is heavily used in Backrooms games alike to transition to another level. But of course, levels don't exist in Kane's versions of the backroom and are instead areas like level 188 and found footage 1. So I'm considering this as another way to travel between rooms in the corridors. I did notice Clark could be pulling out furniture from the backrooms, as I suggested to him in the last video, which is definitely something he did for me. I guarantee it. In all seriousness, if we compare the state of the basement in the start of the trailer from before Clark discovered the backrooms and after when his therapist came to discover it, there's more furniture in the room. And not only that, but it's stacked, as well as a whiteboard with yet another map that I haven't heard anyone talk about. And guess what? You can make out a person on it, shaded in black. I chose not to talk about this instead of the new photo we got of the therapist looking back before entering the no zone, because there's not much you could discover about it. And I tried to find out what it was that phased her in this photo by looking around the room, and ultimately found these cool details. Also, I never mentioned that when she goes in, she likely never comes out of it, which I'm basing off of her condition, using her clothes as a way to tell. In the next photo, we see Clark looking through someone's window, and not his therapist's window, which makes me want to itch my brain because the clothes in both of these scenes connect, but the setting isn't the same. Got rhyme there. And it's not the same as the ones in her home either. And it doesn't seem to be the furniture store because behind him is a house. So what could this be? Tell me what you think in the comments. But I have a theory for later. When I did my theory for the Finest of Phrase 2 movie, I was wrong about basically everything. And I have blamed that on the director for there being 3 nights in the movie. But it was also because I couldn't make out the characters' clothes. And in a movie this bright, it wasn't that hard for me to make out what the story could end up like. So thanks, Kane, I guess? But I wouldn't doubt me if I were you. And sorry if I'm spoiling everything to y'all. You chose to click on this video anyway. The second to last photo is of Clark's team, and I'm guessing their first time meeting him to figure out what's in the backrooms. I'm assuming these aren't his employees because they aren't in uniform, and both shots of them with different clothing, which also makes me think they don't just visit the backrooms once. In the final on-set photo, we see Dr. Mary Klein in a neighborhood that is in the backrooms. Could this be from when they shot in that neighborhood at night? And could they have used CGI to fill in the background of Backrooms wallpaper possibly being the reason why they needed those bright lights. It's really hard to tell, but by looking hard enough online and searching for what a full view of this neighborhood could be like, it is the exact same. Matching with the windows of the garage and the roofs of the houses, I don't see anything different. I mean, even the fences are the same. Could this also be the same neighborhood of the house Clark was looking into? Because the roof is also the exact same, with the white rim and gray tiles. Gosh, I can't wait till this movie is out and we could finally see the full set. I've been wondering this whole time how they make it look so real. Lastly, we recently got an exclusive picture posted by Kane himself on Twitter, which not only proves that the suits in this movie aren't CGI, but that the movie is finished in post-production. As the caption states, that's a wrap on Backrooms. My only concern is that this movie is edited and directed solely by Kane Pixels and could result in a leak much like Paramount's recent Aang, The Last Airbender, which I spoke about in my previous video. Considering that this is one person handling the final product in the movie, there could be some potential dangers of it being released to the public early, and of course not legally. Throughout the many days of waiting, I have yet to see any bad reviews coming from test screeners, and one even left me further context on my last video. The comment read, "The people in the hazmat suits are technically the main characters. It's not the therapist or the patient, at least not for the entire film. There's a reason they call it found footage." There's also one monster, a life form, I'd say that you don't see until the very end. I don't know anything about the lore, but I went to a test screening. I'd give it a solid 7 out of 10. Seems like the movie expects you to know a little about the lore to give the plot a deeper meaning. Obviously, after reading up on the lore after seeing it, I can say I could see people giving it an 8 out of 10. Definitely something I'd have paid to see regardless. I think this might be a hit. To summarize, very straightforward. There's a monster, which doesn't appear toward the end of the movie. The hazmat suits have a huge importance in the movie, and it seems like they even get more screen time than the main characters themselves. And this movie requires a hint of knowledge before fully understanding it. And I'd like to pinpoint one thing. This comment says specifically, there's a reason why they call it found footage. And in this context, he says the other characters aren't essentially the main characters of the film, which makes me believe that either one of them could die, maybe even both. If I were to choose, it's obviously the patient, and I blame that on his obsession over the backrooms, and you might even think I'm crazy for saying this, because the therapist is literally covered in blood in the trailer, but I'll stick to my own beliefs, and he's the one who holds the camera, along with his crew. During a panel at CCXP in Mexico, Kane Parsons was given the chance to speak about the backrooms, where it was revealed that the set is 30,000 square feet, where the actors would get lost, and practically anyone on the set. For your information, 30,000 square feet looks like this. Crazy. The people there were even shown an exclusive clip of the movie, which is rumored to be the intro, maybe first 5 minutes of the movie. Anyway, here's how it went, and I'll be saying this exactly as how I heard it online, word for word. I'm not changing a thing. In the clip, we see Clark watching a commercial from the 90s on his television with the man dressed as a cowboy, but it cuts to a version of the complex depicting a dark opening with a TV cable. The TV shuts off on its own, the lights flicker. Clark believes it's faulty wiring and goes to the breaker. He is visibly frustrated. He turns off all the switches, but nothing happens. He powers down everything, but when he turns it back on, the lights didn't turn on. And this is where he finds the entrance to the backrooms. He approaches it and leans in to listen, where he falls face first. All I have to say is that I was right. Everyone, I was right. And about the most useless piece of information ever, of him falling in face first. It's dumb, I know. I said this in my last video, seeing as in the trailer he seemingly walks in without being in the kneeling position that he's in afterward. That of him being fully inside the backrooms. I give all of my credit for the next section of this video to the YouTuber Little Red SM, who helped me pile up this information in a short little bit. Not meaning we talked about this. I'm not that important, guys. Moving on, commercials for Captain Clark's Ottoman Empire started playing across various TV channels, such as Pluto TV, as a way to promote the movie, and within it there were some hidden secrets. Let's talk about it. To start off, in the context of the commercial, a map is mentioned by Clark, which we could obviously relate to the one he mapped out and gave to his therapist, Dr. Mary Klein. He also references the no zone, possibly not on purpose, because this commercial aired on May 17, 1990. I'll get into it later, which is months before the time he first entered the backrooms, which we know is in April from the camera in the trailer. And lastly, there's a phone number at the top of the advertisement that plays a static noise, but if you look to the left of it, what I didn't notice, along with the female YouTuber I mentioned, funny enough, there's a fax signage, and when faxed, you get a flyer. After scanning the flyer, you can notice it shows a real location, which someone has actually visited. Although it seems like there could be a significance because it's a real life place that anyone could visit themselves if not far enough, nothing has actually been found that relates to the backrooms at all there. My guess is that it's just a filler location for the setting of this movie and for the sake of the flyer. There's also a tee for the flyer that A24 is selling, which you could purchase on their website. It's just a little moved around. Throughout the flyer, there are multiple multiple references to the Backrooms through pirate-like adjectives, and it's even stated in the commercial. It's almost as if this pirate got lost in the sea. And again, the Backrooms is referenced in itself with 3 words, one of them indented. Those words are carpets, wallpaper, and lighting. To go even further, the image in the flyer is mirrored, which makes me wonder, could this flyer have been found in the Backrooms, which explains why it could be this way? Now let me tell you about someone named Peter, who worked at Async and got lost in the Backrooms, experiencing a time skip. Upon his return to the real world, he was taught to better become one with society again, and the workers at Async attempt to make him forget what happened and believe it wasn't real. After adjusting, he created drawings of his experiences outside of the Backrooms, one including him standing in front of the threshold with a variety of people in front of him, but more so faded than actually there. And if you look at the bottom right hand corner, you could make out in a slanted writing the date, which is May 17, 1990. And if we go back to the Ottoman Empire flyer, that same date is seen in the top left corner. But what can we make of this? So, Red's theory is that Peter may have seen this commercial, considering that he disappeared or either came back on that day, which could have helped him remember a way to escape, or he just saw it in general. Because on one of his other drawings there's a sea colored in yellow with a tent over it, that of which is reminiscent of the Backrooms in the Ottoman Empire commercial. That's about it for the commercial. And the flyer that you are able to fax out using the number at the top of the advertisement. It's a lot more details than I imagined anyone being able to pinpoint, and I'm excited to see more of these tiny promotions for the Backrooms movie, considering it's not common we get these in cinema. Some people just think they're the best. Not too long ago, we were given some major cast updates, and before I get into it, there have been a lot of rumors spread regarding the cast of the Backrooms that I can confirm are not true at all, which is McKenna Grace being an, I quote, major role, as well as Lady Gaga, and we all know neither of that is happening, nor will they be in the movie at all. This is information that would have been confirmed months ago if true, and the movie is already finished. Why would we be hearing this now? For all I know, there won't be any major roles being revealed now that the movie is finished in post-production. As for the official cast updates, there are not 2, but 3 more actors confirmed for this movie, who are Philip Granger, Toby Hargrave, and Patrick Bainham. And I admit, there are people I haven't heard of, although a couple of you might connect Patrick Bainham to Patrick Bateman. But of course, he's just not him. I actually talked about it in my last video and knew that he'd appear soon enough in the cast list, so props to me for that. But we haven't seen any of these 3 appear yet in teasers leading up to the movie, as well as Mark Duplass. Besides some leaked behind the scenes pictures on Twitter that I will show on screen, I've been glazing this pic for so long. And my theory is that he might be the guy working for Async that's going crazy in that suit. To conclude, here's the official cast list as of now. That's about it of what's to come for this movie, and if I were you, I would expect a trailer on the way, and most likely in early to mid-May of this year. Why wouldn't it be this year? I'll see you all when the news comes out. For now, thank you for watching. Goodbye, my lovelies. Just a couple of days ago, we got our final official trailer for the Backrooms movie. Along with it, I found many things. For example, there are animals in the Backrooms? Anyway, let's get right into it. At the beginning of the newest teaser, we get a shot of a neighborhood. And this is not the same neighborhood from the trailer. And neither was it the same one in the Pitfalls video. So, I was wrong. We're not going to talk about it though. We then get confirmation to where Clark was knocking from previously released photos. And that window belonged to his camera crew. These characters are named Bobby and Kat. I'm not sure if that's a cat with a K or not, but I'm gonna assume so, and I'll be calling Bobby by Bob. They seem to be roommates or even lovers and friends of Clark. Also notice the number on their door says 130, and I'm not sure if that represents the level of the Backrooms as an Easter egg, possibly being level 130, because these scenes in the trailer have a really similar appearance to it. Although we know levels don't exist in Kane's version of the Backrooms, I just have to put it out there before I get flamed in the comments. That is a huge neighborhood though, and not only objects, but animals are confirmed to be in this version of the Backrooms, because we see a new area of the complex, possibly being set up by Async, and later in the teaser we see the same seagull in a flock. But what's most interesting is that it was still alive because it continued to fly away from Clark. And belonging to Async, we could finally see what's inside of the bag from the previous trailer. This confirms that Clark wasn't keeping the bag there to store stuff because it doesn't seem to be too hidden, but this next piece of information explains why. Upon opening the bag, it's revealed that it belongs to none other but an Async employee. The actor on on this is actually Avon Hogia. I've been waiting to see who's been listed on the cast early on in IMDb, along with VHS tapes, a white box, and many colored discs. But what could be in those? I'm assuming we'll see in the movie, considering how obsessed Clark is. He'll likely take a look for himself. We see one of the members on Clark's team going deeper into the pool rooms like area in the trailer. Clark is then shown running back to the no zone from when he first entered. I'm assuming after he found that bag. As for why he's running back, I have no reason, although it could be he's simply going back to document this place after seeing how far it really goes. And you can notice he doesn't bring any collectives from it, so maybe he doesn't take that bag with him. But could that mean he encountered something that prompted him to leave it there? In the next couple frames, we see 3 sofas being clipped into the carpet, with red lighting in the background, and another opening in the wall that leads down like a ramp, which could say that this is connected to the pitfalls, because in pitfalls we notice the holes aren't parallel, and instead on a slant, which is why the async worker in that video wasn't injured as much when falling down. The wallpaper also looks different, which is another piece of evidence relating to that, and could mean that Clark could have fallen through whilst exploring the complex, because we see on the map that he had mapped some sort of room like the pitfalls, and the red lighting could potentially be the neighborhood, or city from the found footage. It's then confirmed Bob made it back up, which I didn't expect, why not, but there's something off about this scene, because Bob actually seems to force Kat away, and on the left of the screen there's a black colored shape behind her, which wasn't there frames earlier in the scene. I see a lot more in this scene than others do. From a recent seemingly fun interview, his actor spilled a bit too much information, because whilst on the interview when the cast is speaking about the ramp, he says he fell down it. That leads me to believe he had purposely fallen down to sacrifice his life for her, because he was infected by whatever was actually in that basement. I really hope they don't die. They're secretly my comfort characters as of now. I really don't know why Clark would send Bob through this, and Kat, knowing that he's so invested to it. I would expect himself to look at that, and not possibly sacrifice one of his own people. Before I get into that, the next shot in this trailer is of before we see Mary running through the tight hallway from the first trailer. It could be her way of getting away from something, maybe even an entity. And on the other side of that tight space could be where the ASIC workers were fighting from the trailer. We also see that Clark and Mary actually team up at one point to explore the backrooms, which may mean that he finds him at some point. Maybe Clark is looking for his friends and Mary does the same for him once he's missing and stops showing up to his therapy sessions. Please don't tell me something happens to Bobcat. That's my ship name. You really shipping the characters, bro? Hold on. I can explain. Look at this dude shipping the characters. In a bad sign, flickering lights. I don't trust what could happen after this because Mary is seen with blood on her clothes, in the same clothes as she's wearing further into the trailer. And Clark actually steps back. That is not good news. And I'd like to say this movie is supposedly not for people with a sensitive stomach, meaning there could be potential gore or body horror, and not the cheap PG-13 kind. I mean, this movie is rated R. For me, that's a good thing. I like to see more of what the Backrooms could do to people who stay too long in it. In the next scene, we see a room with paintings and windows, and on those paintings, we have the same symbol from Found Footage 3, and it's the same as the pendant Kane Parsons is wearing at the premiere. It is of a kind old son, like Kane Pixel's music YouTube account profile picture, and in a video titled The Kind Old Son. But what could this mean? As of now, there's nothing confirmed related to it, but I'm sure we'll learn a little bit more of it in the movie itself. Afterward, relating to when Bob falls down the ramp where the entity is, we get more shots of this room filled with trash, but it isn't Bob this time. That is clearly Kat, sadly. I really don't hope she dies. I think that as he was trying to protect her by falling down on purpose, she goes after him, leading to this moment. And what I notice is a dead async employee, or just an empty hazmat suit, or maybe even the one from previously in the trailer that Clark picked up the ID card of, and Clark could potentially use that to explore more about async, maybe uncovering who is the one in that suit from the trailer, being Clark himself. But like I said, during the interview with the cast of the Backrooms movie, Bob's actor mentioned falling down the ramp. This leads me to believe that what Mary is chasing after or running away from could be him, because in the corner of that particular scene something moves, something hand-like reaching out to her, with the camera on the ground instead, which confuses me because didn't he get the camera back up the slope? And there's no way Clark could get it back up if we went down after both Bob and Kate are down there. So is this why the person in these trailers need to explore so deep into the complex? Cause we get another shot of the pool rooms like area with an empty bathtub, light shining from I'm guessing a window, some vines growing, pipes, and a door, but the number 409 on the wall right next to it. So could this room transition to one of those houses from the neighborhood Mary lives in? But we never see her holding the camera, so that's up for speculation. And of course, you already know when I see a number I'm gonna have to search up the level name. This one is called the Paper Rooms, level 409 of the wiki version of the Backrooms. Although in game knowledge, the number 409 means error. For the final shot of the teaser, anybody, but most likely Bob is reaching out his hand to open a door. There's a possibility this could be Mary Klein, since she's the one opening the door from the cool shot in the first trailer. But she isn't holding a camera. Also, the hand is white, which could also mean that it's Kat, but we've already seen Bobby with it. What are your thoughts on this? With the Backrooms movie release closing in on us, a movie isn't the only thing Kane's prepared for us, because at the end of the latest trailer there's a website teased at the end of it, which leads you to a full Backrooms experience in LA that is already sold out, and people have gone to see it. It seems to be a replica of the original set, which is a shame because I was hoping we get to see the full 30,000 square feet. But this is still amazing news, because it's amazing how Kane put the effort into building this attraction for fans alike to connect and feel the world itself in the real life. I haven't seen any promotion done like this for a movie, and it's genius marketing. Some more movies deserve treatment like this, and especially horror movies. Kane even hired Stupendo himself to DJ in the Backrooms. How unreal is that? He's starting to make this whole fever dream a reality. Everything Kane has done for the fans gives me so much hope for what's to come when it actually comes out. Just last weekend I watched the entirety of Kane Pixel's web series of the Backrooms as a way of preparation for the movie, not knowing it'll fuel even more thoughts into my head for this video. Here's what I learned, what I theorized and got correct. At the beginning of the teaser I just talked about, a familiar sound plays behind Clark's voice after Mary enters the Backrooms. That track is Still Life, Kane's most popular, nostalgic, and iconic original theme. It first showed up in the Found Footage 3 soundtrack, and at the time I thought nothing of it, until I realized that that same video was the only time that song was used, and the only time we see this Still Life. Even the title says it itself, so why would it be playing in this trailer? Well, in the teaser before this one was released, we see for only a couple of frames an entity, and by comparison, it could be none other than Clark himself. It's kind of crazy to think about because the literal day before I posted on TikTok about how that theme will be used in the movie because of this. Before I sound stupid to you all, let me explain. The still life in the Backrooms is a failed recreation of human or object in real life, and in this case, people theorize that the mannequin from the flyer or logo from the Captain Clark store was recreated in the Backrooms, also being why the theme plays in the trailer. As for the two leg-like things in the upper half of this creature, some theorize it to be a parrot, the creature in motion detected, or the sword that the sign holds, although it is quite high up to be so. And about the creature in motion detected, the scaling is just so off, can't be. But that isn't it, because the Backrooms cast has officially been completed on IMDb, and one actor specifically caught my eye. That is Robert Bobrinski, which is how I think you say his name, and who, as I said in a previous video, could possibly end up in this movie as an entity. And my theory is that he could be playing this character, the still life of Clark. It is very exciting to see this giant, a professional basketball player, to be involved in something that is like he's built for. I'm very excited to see practical horror coming back to our screens, and I could thank Kane for that. Along with the new cast updates, there's an actor casted as young Mary, meaning we could be getting some flashbacks of her story. I think that could happen either when she looks at something in the Backrooms and remembers it from her childhood, like the nostalgia a lot of us feel looking at photos of the Backrooms, or they could just pull some anime crap and give her a whole flashback before dying just to solo the whole verse. If this becomes true, I genuinely flip. Another theory I got right is that the furniture was in fact moved. A small little detail. I'm so smart. New map pad here. And back to the Ottoman Empire commercial. Clark references more space, just as Async was searching for that same reason. More space. I noticed this soon after watching the web series fully for the first time. One of my viewers did comment about the cardboard cutout and its significance. It read, "The cardboard cutout is right outside of the room that Clark is seen on the CCT footage. It was put there by Async with the speaker playing the audio. They know the entities are drawn to sound, so they played that as a way to draw them. They know the entities are drawn to sound, so they played that as a way to draw them and to make first contact in case they're intelligent. You can even see the cardboard cutout behind Clark in the CCT footage and see the power cables running over to it. You can see the same type of power cables in the part where the walls are narrowing and the woman is bloodied and running. It's just a nice thing to know and really cool attention to details. The cardboard cutout does seem to have a speaker on it as well from behind the scene photos that Kane posted himself. I can't wait to see more of Async. I've been obsessed with them ever since I finished the web series. I used to think they were like trashed. I didn't really like them that much. Well, that's about it, and I expect this to be my last video on this movie until it comes out. I may even do a vlog, but we'll see. Until then, enjoy the Backrooms movie on May 29th with me, and I'll keep you updated if something catches my eye. Feel free to leave what you think will happen in the comments down below. I'll try to reply as many as I can if I'm not too lazy. Goodbye, my lovelies.